Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, name 960, Prana-nilaya. Prana here is taken in the sense of prani. The commentators mostly take this to mean the living beings, and nilaya means the abode, the resting place, just like the nest of birds. So it means that Vishnu, Prana-nilaya, is the abode or resting place for all living beings. That is the way that Parashara Bhatta explains it, giving the analogy of birds after flitting around all day here and there. They go back to their nest at the end of the day, and similarly, the jivas, they Eta Brahmanda Pariyananta Jivagan Chaurashi Lakha Jonite Kare Brahman. This universe is filled with innumerable jivas in 8,400,000 species of life, and they go here and they go there, they go up, they go down, they go in the water, they go in the air, they go in the fire, flitting around like birds here and there, very busy. But eventually, at the time of the Mahapralaya, when the whole universe is wound up, then all the living beings enter into him. They enter into the body of Mahavishnu. Apart from that, everyone rests in him. Mai sarvamidang protam sutre manigana iva. Everything, living and non-living, rests upon him as pearls are strung on a thread. Another way of looking at it is that he is the final destination. He is the resting place of everyone. Mama vartmanu vartante manusha partha sarvashaha. Everyone is on his path. Everyone, knowingly or unknowingly, mostly in this world unknowingly, are ultimately aiming at Krishna. We're looking for happiness, means we're ultimately looking for Krishna. The ultimate abode is Vaikuntha, the world beyond sorrow. So, in the Vaikuntha world, and in this world also, Krishna is the support of everyone. The abode, everyone lives within him. Everyone in this world is trying to avoid Krishna, but actually we can't avoid Krishna. Just like the earth is the abode for all beings who live upon it, so Krishna is the abode of all living beings, just like we can't avoid living on the earth. Well, we could say we'll shoot off to Mars or something, but in the normal course of events, we live on this earth, and even though we mistreat the earth so badly, industrialized man, and making disasters by mistreating earth so badly, exploiting earth, but still we have to live here. So in the same way we mistreat Krishna, but still we live in him. Shankaracharya takes the term pran to collectively represent the 5 major types of air that enable bodily function. Pran is a collective term, we've already discussed this, and it also means the air that is breathed in. Apana is the exhaled breath. Vyan is the air that keeps everything moving within the body. Udan is the air by which the Kamendriyas, just like the hand is moving. That in modern science, we'll say it's due to the muscles. The Vedic science doesn't deny that, but it says that also there's the udan, the subtle air, which helps to move it. And saman aids in expelling stool. That's also called. So Bhagavan is the support of all these functions, and they all merge into him. The functions merge into him. The living beings merge into him. So he is Prana-nilaya. Satyadeva Vashishta comments that Bhagavan has this name also because he makes provision for the living of all living beings in this world in whichever form is appropriate for them. He provides sunlight, water, and various food forms for the different living beings. So just like a mother provides food for the child, the Supreme Lord makes provisions for the different jivas to live, and even all the living beings have their abode. The birds have their nest. The humans make different kinds of living conditions, houses. The snakes, they go in a hole. A mouse makes a hole. The ants make their ants' nest. The same word is used in English, ants' nest, although it's very different to birds' nests. And of course, there are different kinds of birds' nests, and not all birds make nests. But anyway, even the birds that don't make nests, just like you see pigeons, they have just on a ledge, on some high up on a building, they'll put a few sticks. It's not exactly a nest. But he arranges for them all to have a place to stay, all the living beings. So in that way, he is the abode. Vishnu is the abode of all living beings. In the Madhva Sampradaya, they very much emphasize Mukhya Prana, which means Vayudev, the Lord, the demigod overseeing air, who they recognize as the topmost jiva. So they give the interpretation that because he, Vishnu, is the abode or shelter of Mukhya Pran, who takes refuge in him, therefore he is called Prana-nilaya. That doesn't mean they reject other meanings, but that's one meaning they find. From Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, Pranasya pranam uta chakshushas chakshur uta shrotrasya shrotram anasyanam manaso ye mano viduhu. Referring to knowers of the truth, they know who is the breath of the breath, or the prana of the pran, the life of the living, the breath of the breath, who is the eye of the eye, the ear of the food, the ear of the ear, the food of the food, the mind of the mind. So here, pranasya pranam. This term also appears in Kathopanishad, I believe. He is the life of the living. So he is the abode of the living. Prana-nilaya. Another meaning, he is called Prana-nilaya because he is the shelter, the support, the foundation for all the senses as they are manifested in different ways. Just like in this human body, I have a mouth for eating. Birds have different kinds of beaks. Every species of bird has a different kind of beak. Of course, there are what are called families of birds, just like finches. Their bills are short and very strong for cracking open hard nuts. whereas the stork has a very long bill suitable for searching in the water for food. So different birds have different kinds of bills or beaks. The tiger has a different kind of mouth, similar to other cats in the cat genus. Tigers, cheetahs, lions, domestic cats, feral cats, jaguars. There are so many snow cats and leopards. There's so many different kinds of cats but within the cat genus, but they all have a similar kind of mouth. And humans have arms, monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, they have arms also. Four-armed, four-legged beasts, they have different kinds of legs. And the fish, they have their fins, they don't have legs at all. But taking their whole huge number of species, 8,400,000 kind of species, and then within that there are unlimited living beings, they all have their senses and their working organs to work in a certain way suitable for their body, which they get according to their desires and their karmas, and all of those senses and the demigods which oversee those senses are overseen by Vishnu. Therefore he is Prana-nilaya. Overseen, no, actually in this case it means it all rests in him. It's a somewhat different. The ability of the alligator to move so quickly and catch some prey, that ability rests in him. The ability of the python to sit for days and days and days without food and then capture, how he captures his food, that ability rests in him. The ability of the ear to hear rests in him. This is unpacking further those words from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Kathopanishad. The ability of the mind to think, to recognize, to cogitate, that rests in him. The ability of the mouth to speak rests in him. The ability of the mouth to speak and of various birds to make their cries, of different living beings. All different living beings have different. Dogs bark and jackals howl. Dogs also howl. Dogs have different kinds of sounds they make, distress sounds among them. And even among dogs we find that different barks. A Pekingese dog's bark is very high-pitched, very annoying. Whereas a bigger dog like a Great Dane, St. Bernard, has a low-sounding, low-pitched bark. But whatever it is, the ability to make that sound rests in him. The ability of the eye to see rests in him. The ability of all the airs to function under the supervision of Mukhya Prana, Vayu, rests in him. Therefore, he is called Mukhya Prana. One other understanding of this name, a completely different breakup of the Sanskrit, is that he causes the joining of the rivers with the sea. And to understand how that is derived, you have to know some Sanskrit. Otherwise, you won't get it. So that also, yeah, it is quite awe-inspiring to see a river join with the sea, especially when the river has come from a long distance. I've been to many holy places in India. One of the most important, well, it's hard to say which are most important. I've not been to Ganga Sagar, the place where the Ganga meets the sea. Actually, she meets the sea at many places because she's goes in a delta, but one particular place where Kapil Ashram is there. I haven't been there, but there are different estuaries I've seen. And yeah, especially a very long river. It's awe-inspiring to think how this river has come from a small source such a long way away, often high in the hills, and gradually grows bigger as she flows. Most of the rivers are female, and becomes larger as other rivers flow into her. And how many living beings are sheltered within that water, how many towns and villages are built along the banks of those rivers, how so many living beings depend, or who are not directly in the river, they also depend, including so many humans, depend on that river, and then she meets the sea. Tvaimeinanya vishaya matir matupate sakridratim advahata adha gange vauga mudanvati. Kunti Devi prays, may my love for you, Krishna, flow just like the Ganga flows, inexorably towards the sea. Baladev Vidyabhushan is commenting on this series of names in terms of Krishna and the gopis. He shoots right up to Vrindavan. He doesn't deny the other, of course he doesn't deny the other explanations, but he finds Vraja-lila in this series of names. In this explanation he says, Prana means his, Krishna's loved ones, particularly referring to the gopis. He is the resting place of the gopis who live by the nectar of his love. The gopis, they are his prana, they are his life, and their life is sustained not by food, not by air, but by nectar. Just they live on nectar. And what is the nectar? His love. And they rest in that nectar. They rest upon him like birds in a nest. Vancha kalpatarubhyas charkipa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.